Hello everyone, welcome to this lesson video over how to add a smoke test. So we have been working along with our project, setting up our repo, looking at unit tests and integration tests. And if you'll remember back, maybe you have to go back and look at the section on smoke testing. Smoke testing is really just a basic test that checks if the system is up and functioning. So it confirms that the build or the deployment just isn't completely broken. And it is an extremely easy test to set up, especially with all of the work that we've done on our little sample project so far, where we have set up our little ASP.NET API project. We've got this all connected to GitHub. We know that our tests are running. We've seen the pipeline actions. And so all of that is wired up. So as I've said at the beginning of some of the other videos, if you are wanting to kind of work from scratch, you will need the ASP.NET API project, you will need the test project, and you'll need your .NET YAML file for all of this to work that we're going to look at in this video. So if you need to take a second and pause to make sure you understand what is all being set up, then do that. But otherwise, we're going to jump right on in. So we are going to set up a test method. Now I'm going to put this in the integration test class because it's already wired up to work with our API. But as we saw last time, we can actually classify our tests as different categories. So I'm going to set up a new test method in here, and I'm going to name this test category a smoke test so that I can keep it separate from my other integration tests. Now, it is extremely a popular choice for teams to run smoke tests immediately after their build or deploy steps because it's going to block further tests or deployment steps from taking place if our smoke tests failed. Because again, this test is really just designed to say, you broke it. Your whole API is down. Bad things are happening. So setting up a new test method similar to the ones that we've created before. I'm going to call this health check returns healthy status. Good name. And we are going to need to hit an endpoint. Usually we set it up like health or something like that. So we're going to use that client get async. We're going to hit an endpoint called health. And then we're going to check the response. So very similar to the test that we did before, except we're not asserting like a value like 20. We're going to say r equal that the response is just going to say healthy. Make sure you spell it right. I'll tell you, nothing will irritate you more than your smoke test continually failing because you said, hey, I'm going to return a response that says healthy, and you misspelled it. We can also, the other thing I wanted to show you in this is we can also assert a status code. So if we said system net HTTP status code, HTTP, there we go. I saw it. Like an OK. We can also return that status code. So a lot of times, especially in these smoke test endpoints where we're just like, did you give me a 200? Or did I get like a 500 because I deployed my API to my Azure instance and it failed and I didn't realize it? So you can make these assertions. When you have multiple assertions inside of a test method, all assertions must return a true value or a correct pass value, or the whole test fails. Now, I wrote this test saying that I have a health endpoint that's going to return healthy, and it's going to return an okay, but I have to go wire that up. So save your test method and come over to your program CS. And under here where we set up that map get endpoint earlier for our multiply, we're going to do a map get for our healthy endpoint, or I'm sorry, health endpoint, because that's what we named it. And so in here, we just want to return results.okay. And in that okay result, this is where we said healthy. I cannot spell healthy today. This is terrible. Oh no. Now you can pick any word you want. So if you're finding that you really can't spell healthy, you are saying, this is what I'm returning. This results.okay is going to return a status code of 200 as an HTTP response value. And so this is where our assertion is going to look for whatever word. You could put taco in here. You could say result, okay, taco. And as long as R equal taco comes out, then that's going to assert okay. And then this is going to check for that HTTP status code okay. And if we save everything, we can check this out and run it. However, one thing I want to do is add this to our .NET YAML. Now, what I said earlier, that it's very common that smoke tests are immediately after the build, either the build or a deploy step, because again, we want to block further tests or deployments from happening if our smoke test fails. So we want to put this, and again, I'm going to copy this statement in my YAML, but I'm going to put it before the unit tests run. And then I'm going to change my test category to smoke because we added that test category decorator annotation onto the method. And so that way, if the smoke test fails, it's not going to do any of this down here. So the order of your YAML is important because that's the order of the steps that are going to happen. And GitHub Actions is just going to stop if one of those steps does fail. So let's go ahead and deploy this and get it up to GitHub. So let's add a smoke test and take a look at our work to see how that's going. Here we can see add smoke test coming into the build. We can watch it run. Walking through those steps. So we set up .NET successfully. We restored dependencies successfully. We're doing the build. We're running the smoke test. Oh, smoke test failed. See, now it's not going to proceed. We're not going to run our unit tests. We're not going to run our integration tests. So why did our smoke tests fail? So if we look at our assert equal failed, expected, healthy, actual, healthy in quotes. Now, I know you guys hate it when I set you up. And you're like, why do you write content that is deliberately broken? And that's because I want you to see what happens when it's not perfect. We are never going to write perfect code. Maybe you're special. Maybe you actually write code and it works the first time. Most developers will tell you that that's not the case, that they'll write code and like sometimes it works, and then they'll write code like this where they just like make a mistake. And I want you to see what it looks like when we make a mistake. So sorry I set you up here. Let's correct it. So we can correct this a couple of different ways. We can't stop, well, you can. You can really mess around with this okay response and make it stop passing these quotes. But you can also just turn this into a text. Results.text will strip out those quotes and actually return healthy the way that it's expecting. The other way to do this is in your assert to actually just adjust the expected value to account for the quotes by escaping them out. So it kind of just depends on which way you want to go at it. Now, I prefer stripping the quotes out so that we can keep the OK assertion or keep the OK in our results and actually check the status code as well. So if we come over to our GitHub and take a look at that, we can see now all of our tests run, our smoke tests runs OK, with us checking for those quotes and making sure that they're present in the response. That's just the way that that OK return response works. Again, there's a couple of different ways that you can solve that, but I do want you to see what happens when we are looking for a string value, because so far in our usage of the R equal, we've only been looking at numbers. So because our smoke test ran okay, the rest of our tests ran, and now we have a successful build in the pipeline log for updating the assert for the smoke test after making those changes to the R equal in that test method. So I hope you have enjoyed this video of setting up this smoke test. And again, remember, the purpose of smoke testing is just verifying basic stability, catching obvious like showstopper bugs, and saving time by stopping deeper testing if the app is like truly broken. So stick with me. We've got a couple more things to look at in this section as we've been getting our hands dirty with GitHub and our .NET project, so that you understand how to work with some of these different types of tests. So as always, let me know if you have questions, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much.